Hi, everyone. Welcome to the How We Hustle podcast.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Tanya. And we invite you to join us in our unfiltered conversation about the real life hustle of being an entrepreneur. For more information about the podcast, check out howwehustlepodcast.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at How We Hustle Podcast, where you'll get notable quotes from our episodes and updates on live new episodes. So head over to Instagram and follow us at How We Hustle Podcast. So I had a kind of uncomfortable experience a couple of months ago, and I feel like people could really benefit from my experience.
I'm excited for this episode.
Because it's kind of like a taboo topic I take. It's why I fired my coach. And I was working with this coach for 8 months, one-on-one. That's kind of the backstory about it. And I had a lot of success in my first year and a half of my business. And I got to six figures very quickly. And I was making about $30,000 to $35,000 per month at this time. And so I hired this coach to help me build my team. And I didn't have a great experience. What I learned is that not everyone shares your same philosophy. And when you hire someone, you really need to look at, does their business look like the business I want? And if it doesn't, don't hire that person. Because what I realized with my coach is that this person didn't have a lot of automation in her business, and it was very team heavy. So her team did a lot of the work, and she didn't have a lot of understanding of technology. So there was no automation or sales funnels that she was doing. But I hired her for a team. What I realized over time, and really it was right at the end, was I had weekly sessions with this person, and I never got that. And I didn't realize it until it was too late, where they were away for 6 weeks. So it's pretty easy to notice that you're not getting weekly sessions when the person is not available for 6 full weeks. And when you have to chase them down to book a call or to have a call when you're going through some difficult times in your business. And I feel like the straw that broke the camel's back was not even that. It was that the person was like stepping over my emotions. When I was going through something difficult, they weren't even noticing that I was crying or that I was upset. They were just like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this.
So why was your coach acting like this? What do you think was happening on their side of it? Was it because when you started with them, they were in a different place, and then they kind of grew out into a different model, but didn't really want to tell anyone because they liked the cash flow and kind of
yes.
Is that what you think happened?
Yes. So I didn't even remember about that. Thank you for pointing that out. So my coach also, when I first started working with this person, I have always been taking on 5 one-on-one clients. That's it. I know it's not scalable, so I only take on 5. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but my coach took on 30 one-on-one clients. 30 one-on-one clients. It's insane. I once had 10 clients and I thought I was going crazy. So I can't even imagine what 30 is like. And she was charging like a fifth, 1/5 of what I was charging at the time. So I was charging, and I obviously told her that I was charging a lot more than her per month. And they got a lot less of my time, not a lot less. I didn't give with weekly sessions at that time. They got 3 sessions a month. I was charging 4 or 5 times what she was charging. And I only had 5. And so what happened over time is that the more she heard about that, the more she decided that she should switch her model to my model. So it really doesn't make you feel great when you're trying to learn from somebody who's literally switching their business to look like yours and telling you to switch your business to look more like theirs.
And I think what's kind of interesting about that, and we've talked about this, is like this whole idea of charging less as a way of being nicer to your clients. But as we see, like when you charge less, you're actually not serving your clients because like
you have so many.
Yeah. So you are able to give
Everything.
Everything better when you charge more. So you're actually doing your customers a favor. Customer is the wrong word. Clients a favor when you charge them more because you're able to give them
all of your time.
Yeah.
Like, well, not all of it, but I mean so much more. Like, I am there with my clients through everything, and they have a lot more access to me. So like, number one, I record their calls and I post them into a folder, a shared folder for them. Number two, I actually implement with them, which I've been told by every coach I've ever had not to do that. But you know what? It really works well for my clients, and it's a really good value add that they're not just on their own trying to figure out how to do something. We're doing it together. And you can't do that when you don't understand how to do tech. Right? So she couldn't have helped me with that because she didn't know how to do it. For those of you who have done Facebook ads, this was my number one like red flag. Was there was a time when she told me to boost a post. Boosting a post is literally Facebook stealing your money, and I won't go into that right now, but that was an indication to me that she clearly does not know how to use Facebook ads. So that was the first thing where I was like, oof, just ignore anything she says when it comes to Facebook ads because she doesn't know how to use them. And then you would like see these things where she's like marketing it and using the things that I've told her I do in my business. So that doesn't feel good. So like she's like literally telling me to change my model to be more like hers, where she doesn't implement, where she doesn't provide this, where she doesn't provide that, where she's not available for this, where she only gives this much time to her clients. And like something I had was clearly working very well when I hired her to be making $35,000. And by the time I really looked hard at what was happening, I was making $0 of recurring income. $0 of recurring income from working with her for maybe 5 months. So the tactics that she had had me implement in my business were very different from how I built my business. And that can put a stress on anyone. When you have a big team and you're bringing in $0 and now you're changing up how you do the things that were working, you've changed. And now those things are no longer working. The way that she runs her business doesn't really work for me. But yet you're still paying this coach, and then they're not giving you your time. And like, that doesn't feel good for a person. If someone's going through something difficult, like you show up for them and you come up with solutions. And when I took a hard look at that by myself, I then tried to get out of working with her. So I tried to cancel my contract with her, and she talked me out of it, but then didn't give me any support for the next month. So I paid her an extra month. I got maybe one call where she just convinced me to work with her again. Because coaches are very good at that. They'll make you feel bad and be like, we can fix this, blah, blah, blah. You didn't ask for help, even when I did. So that also left me with a bad taste. And like when someone charges you for weekly calls and you've never gotten weekly calls in 6 months, 8 months of working with her, that doesn't feel very good. So I really had to take a hard look at what was I looking for when I hired this person, and how has it impacted my business? And is it working for me? Because not every single, like there are thousands of ways, millions of ways to build a business, and they'll work for everyone. But that way wasn't the way I wanted to work or create my business. That wasn't the strategies that I wanted to do. And those are not the strategies that made my business so successful in the past. So the minute that I fired her was the minute I literally got booked 4 clients that week. 4 new clients that week, the minute that I fired her. And the crazy thing is that now she's been using my testimonial about a challenge that I ran for her business. And people keep coming up to me asking me about my experience. Don't do that, guys. Don't use somebody's testimonial who didn't have a very good experience of working with you. Because people will go to these people and ask them, especially if they know you, especially if they meet you. People met me at an event and asked me about it at the event, or people would email me on LinkedIn or Facebook, message me on Facebook and ask me about it.
Funny thing is, a little bit off, but this coach we're talking about reached out to me on Instagram and said, it wasn't her in particular, it was her
team.
Her team said, hey, tell me more. They reached out to me, and in my head I'm like, you just like totally I knew the backstory of what happened with you, and I wrote a response that I was like, no.
But a lot of people, that happened to a lot of people. And it's so interesting because you would have thought that they wouldn't have used me of all people. Like, you have to think that if you're going to use someone's testimonial, and I actually encourage this, is I just said this to a woman last night where I said, hey, like, feel free to message any of my clients. They're always happy to speak to people who are inquiring about working with me. Now, are there some people that didn't have a good experience? Absolutely. Like, you'd be hard pressed to find a coach that hasn't had a bad experience, or a client that hasn't had a bad experience with any coach. I did some market research at that same time, and I heard every single person. I interviewed 20 people, and all 20 people told me about someone that they'd had a bad experience. And sometimes it's just that you didn't show up. Sometimes they weren't giving the kinds of support that you were looking for. And I wasn't getting the kind of support that I was looking for. Does that mean that she's not a great coach for other people? Absolutely not. She's probably a great coach for a lot of people. But it wasn't the type of coach that I was looking for. It wasn't the type of coach that I needed. And like, that's also partly my fault for sure, because when I was looking for a coach, I was desperate to find someone new. I was flying without a coach, and it made me very stressed out that I didn't have a coach. Because I always say, like, it's never trust a coach that doesn't have a coach. And so I didn't want to be a hypocrite of my own saying. So I was really desperate to find a coach, and I literally hired her off of a referral. And again, I didn't ask the important questions. And the important questions I would have asked now are, what kinds of strategies do you use to help your clients? What does support look like? What happens if we miss a session? Because she canceled a lot of my sessions as well. It wasn't just that she wasn't available, which she wasn't available for a lot of them, but then she would cancel some of them as well. So it wasn't just that she wasn't available or that she canceled, but also like, what does the support look like? What are your calls like? What will we do on the calls? And then looking at their business, like, how do they make money? What do they have coming up in the future? She was on a book tour at the time, which is why I couldn't speak to her for 6 weeks. But again, like, even if I'm away, I was at an event on the last day last week, and my client was like, emergency, my order form isn't working. She sent me a message on every single platform. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do here? Would I rather go to the last day of this event, or would I rather make sure that my client can make money in her challenge today? And the answer is no question for me. Like, I don't need to go to the end of this event. I'd rather help my client make money. But not everybody has that kind of feeling. Even one of my other clients, she said, like, her coach isn't available in between sessions. Like, she can't contact her in between sessions. And that's kind of how I felt too, where I couldn't contact her for help. There were times where she was available, but not while she was on her book tour. And I mean, your business and your clients, their business doesn't end just because you're on a book tour. So I don't necessarily want to talk badly about other people. I just want people to know that, number one, you can fire people. If you don't want to work with someone, if it's not working for you, that person shouldn't want to work with you, and you shouldn't have to work with them. So there's always a way to get out of the contract, even if you've signed a contract and there's no way to get out. Like, nobody wants to work with someone who it's not a good fit with. That's not to say that if you're like, oh, I'm tired, oh, I want to give up, oh, I'm struggling, so I'm going to give up on coaching. That's probably not the right time to give up on coaching. But if it's not the right fit, like, speak up and ask more questions. Really take a look at, how is it impacting you and your business? And are you getting what you need? Or is there something else that you wish was available? Now, granted, I haven't found a coach that does what I do in terms of the tech, the implementation, and the availability, but I have become what I wish was available. So you can always learn from those experiences and make sure that someone like your clients won't have that experience working with you. And that's kind of what I've taken away from this, is like, I would never want my client to feel the way that I felt.
So in a lot of ways, like, do you have resentment right now, or do you just see that as?
No, I feel like that was an experience, and
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have resentment, because you know why? I'm glad that I like recognized it when I did. I'm glad that I trusted my intuition when it came up that like this was not the right fit. I'm glad that I wasn't too afraid to not speak up, or to hurt someone's feelings, or to say this is not working for me. because I'm sure that that didn't make me popular with her. And I'm sure that it caused a lot of like stress in terms of my business, and maybe it caused stress to her. I don't know. But like, I have to focus on what's good for my business. And if it's not good for that, like, then it's not good for me either. I have to keep that at the forefront of my mind. Like, I'm the keeper of that, and she needs to take care of her business. And so I'm glad I spoke up about that. And I've certainly learned from that. It's literally made me so much more conscious, because I'd never had that experience with my last coach. My last coach was very available. She always was there for me when I needed it. She gave me the exact help that I needed, minus the tech again, because she also didn't have the same kind of tech-ness as I do. But again, I learn what I want to be and what I don't want to be. And we only learn that by like having experiences. I liked that, or I didn't like that. And I want to implement that with my clients, or I don't want to implement that with my clients. And how can I be different so that other people don't have this experience? Like, we're always just trying to better ourselves, better my services, better my coaching.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a good kind of overarching lesson, which is like, everything is a learning experience. And if you start to blame other people, you really are taking away that power from yourself. And so don't like think of it that way. We all do things. We all, make decisions, and just kind of focus on, as you said, you learned, how you learned a lot more about what works in your business. So in a sense, in some ways, working with a coach that didn't work out was beneficial, because it showed you kind of, what not to do, or what how you don't want to do it, or.
And it also really made me so much more empathetic, and to understand where so many other people are coming from, that they're afraid of coaching because they've had a bad experience. This guy that I spoke to that reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, he was telling me again some horror stories about coaches with him. And he was like, I'm afraid to invest again, because I've invested in so many things already that haven't worked out. I've invested in courses I hear all the time that didn't work out, that didn't get me results. I've even invested in people and they didn't help me. It didn't work out. And so why should I invest again? But most of us know of that like the reason we invest is to get results, and not everything works out every time, and not everything is the right fit. But eventually, if we keep investing, right, then we are hoping, we want to find the person or the support or the guidance or the information that's going to help us get there. And if we're really committed to our business, we're going to continue to search. And so having that experience myself, when I didn't have that experience with my last coach, has made me realize that so many other people are having the same experience, not just with her or her clients, but with other people's coaching and coaching clients. So that's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for all of us to provide a better service, to give people another option so that they can move forward, so that they can get the results. Because the option now is like, they could hire someone else and not get results. They could waste money. They could waste time. And now I'm on a mission to make sure that people do have what I wished I had. What I have now is something that, one, I wished was available for me. And I know it's something that works. And I have heard from my clients who have worked with other people before how like transformational and how much faster they get results, because I give them everything. I think a lot of other coaches are coming from the perspective of, oh, I want you to move up in my funnel. And you know what? That's great and all as a business owner, but like as a person who wants to help people, like forget the damn funnel and moving up the damn funnel, because really you want to help people, like give them what they need to succeed, and don't hold back so that they move up your funnel. Like one of the other things that used to piss me off about that is like, it is not possible. And this is why I don't take on men anymore, is because I really, truly don't believe in not having a community. And my communities are women only. And so for every man that approaches me, I wish that I could take them on as clients. Can I help them? Yes. But my coach would not allow me into her community unless I paid an extra on top of the thousands of dollars I was already paying, unless I paid an extra $1,000. And I find that to be very annoying is the only word that's coming to mind, because it is not possible to do it without a community. One of the things I learned in this experience is I was really struggling with my team, and she kept saying to me, everyone goes through this. Everyone goes through this. You're not the only one that's going through this, Tanya. And I had never heard nor saw somebody going through what I was going through. And so I didn't trust her. Maybe that was a sign in itself, but I didn't believe her. I thought that there was something wrong with me. It must be me. I wanted to take responsibility. It must be me. I'm bad. I'm not good. I'm not good at this. I screwed this up. And so I'm the reason this didn't work, and it's not normal what I'm going through. Even if she told me it was, I didn't believe that. But I saw people after I went through that experience. Now I've spoken with a number of people who have had that same experience, but because I wasn't in the community, I didn't know that it was normal that other people do go through this. And so I don't take on men because I can't provide a community for them. And if I can't provide a community, I don't ever want them to have that experience where they think that something that they're going through is not normal. And so they give up on it rather than pushing through it, as Greg says in our episode about the dip, or as Seth Godin says about the dip. If you don't know about that dip, if you don't know about that hard part that everyone goes through, you can't stick with it in order to get onto the other side. And now I will have to go through that whole experience again. When I build that team again, I will inevitably go through that dip, per se, of the hard thing where you want to give up on it. And I'll have to know now that I've spoken to a bunch of people that it's normal and that we all go through it, and then I can push through that. So that was another thing that also just left a bad taste in my mouth about not being a part of a community. Really had a detriment to my development.
All right, so you got lots out of it. So firing your coach, working with a coach that maybe didn't go in the direction ultimately that you wanted to, was maybe had value worth its weight in gold in a different way.
Definitely.
So, always look at the bright side of things. Even when things don't go like the way you want it to, they're really, especially when you're an entrepreneur, and I've done this so many times, gone down roads thinking that those roads would go one direction and that they didn't. And you're like, why did I do that? But then you're like, wait a minute, at least now that I know this road is a dead end, and that information is also so valuable because now I know and I can focus on a different road. So there's always a bright side to things, even when, you think you maybe have wasted money or time or whatever. It
was just an expensive lesson. That's all.
Yeah. So, and expensive lessons or lessons in general are people that aren't learning lessons are usually
not trying.
And that's a wrap on another episode of How We Hustle. For more information, check out howwehustlepodcast.com.